Hello and welcome to my stream tonight, Paint and Chat. As you can see here, we have a Terminator captain. I've done a little pre-work here. I got him doing the slap chop method, so for a little bit of speed painting here. I've done a undercoat actually of one of the darker colors. It's a little hard to see, but underneath all that is a McCrag blue dry brush layer. And I've got some ultramarine blue here as well, and some Eldari emerald. We'll be using those two as our primary colors for his armor and cape. And I've got this burgundy. There it is. Got this burgundy to do his shoulder pads, and I think I'll do his cape in that color. Add a nice bit of contrast. This came in a little set from Hatchet Collection, so they're pretty cool. Uh, just waiting on my next set, but yeah, no. Comes basically came with the starter set build, so he's got standing on a tyranid there. Alright. And so tonight, just painting, talking with y'all. I've got all my setup here, got my paints. Tomorrow night will be Baldur's Gate 3, and the night after, my random stream game is the Elden Ring Net Rain. So be sure to check that out. Uh, let's get started. So we're gonna start with this brush here. We're gonna get started with the emerald. We're gonna do the hmm. We're gonna do the core and underplating in the emerald color, and we're gonna do some highlighting. Might not do the crag blue actually, so well, or ultramarine blue contrast, but we'll get there. Let's see. Come on. This army, this is continuing my Angels Reborn army, a Space Marine unit that I've got set up as kind of a custom chapter. Initially, I wanted to do them as Dark Angels, but I think I'm going to do just general Space Marines. I like the Gladius Task Force, though I might get some more. If I get more models in the like Deathwing stuff, I might do a few runs with the Dark Angel chapter. There we go. Otherwise, it's mostly Space Marines. Move that over here. We'll do the well, pads there in a McCrag blue. There we go. Get around his face there. His headpiece. I've also been printing up some proxies. Those guys will be possibly a future paint and chat stream. And yeah, I'm going to paint over a number of items here because we want to get all the nooks and crannies in that nice emerald. We'll do, like I said, I'll do the shoulder pads a slightly that burgundy color, give him a little more flavor, and we'll get in there with gold later because the Space Marine symbol is in gold, and we'll get down in there with the black and for the Under Armour. Because that black contrast paint is really thick. All right. The Crag Blue is doing a lot of heavy lifting, surprisingly. Let me shake that up a little I think. Get a little more paint. Yep. His fist is a little loose. Thought I secured that. Oh, not a problem. It's not gonna fall off. It's just loose. Get in there with that emerald. Spread it around. All right. Just making sure you can see. You can see what I'm painting, right? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Good. We're gonna shake this up a little more. There we are. All right. There we go. Got a little more coloration going. Something I have learned and I kind of enjoy is that. Well, so for that bit, I think what I'll do is paint over in the color and then kind of a light, dry, almost dry brush white scar over the knee pad there. So that way that white really pops. And of course, we'll weather it with some Nolan Oil, Agrax Earthshade. I think I'm going to do the stone a little differently. All right. Make sure I got. Not going to be able to see all of it, so I just want to get the more important parts. That way, not so much of it is obvious. There we are. Get a little more green in there. Get a nice coverage with that. Back side of that leg. Now it's a little hard to see. Yeah, moisten it up some. There we are. All right. I love painting so much. It's a nice little. It's nice seeing the kind of overarching, like how you start off and kind of have a blank canvas. You start getting your paints in and seeing all the ways that everything interacts, and then that finished product. So nice. And it's nice to have an actual end point. That's something I struggle with sometimes. Is where's the end of the project? A little too much. We'll soak it back up. Get in there. There we are. All right. Speed paints. Always fun to work with. Come on. And I'll just go back over some of the painted bits with a little white scar as well on the ground there. I made a few mistakes, but that's okay. We make mistakes, we clean them up. All right. I have some contrast medium as well, so what I might do is take some of that silver when I get to that stage and just kind of contrast over that. So we'll get all of that done. We'll let that dry. Once I verify I've gotten all of his actual armor bits that are not going to be that nice purple. There we are. Anyway, ooh, that water's turning a nice shade of blue, surprisingly. Alright, that took a lot less time than I expected, which is fine. That's why we like speed painting. Gives a nice even coverage and doesn't take up too much of our time. Get all that green out. That's a lot of green. There we are. Alright, we're going to switch to a smaller brush for the shoulder pads there. Oh, big stretch. Sorry. Now the tyranid here, I gotta remember to separate out what's actually its body this time. And we'll cover that one near closer to the end of the project. Because I got a bunch of other colors here, and I have these nids to paint. So what I'm planning on doing, I can see the top of his knee, that's not good. Let's get in there with a little bit more emerald. There we are. Lift up some of that excess. There we are. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, we'll get the base painted simultaneously with the various Tyranid models I have. And hopefully we'll have a fun time with that. Now, back you go, my Von Ryan Vipers and Wing Prime. Just to kind of show a brief, like, what I've got printed. This is going to be my proxy army for future games. But here, this guy is a proxy chaplain that I bought and printed. Still need to do a little cleaning up. That's fine. And here is the librarian proxy I picked up. Both these guys are going to be sitting on their 40mm bases. I feel like that's sitting a little too far back, but I'll figure it out. Yeah. Anyway, those are two characters that I've printed up, along with this already primed. Oops, yeah, that pack didn't come out as well as I'd hoped, but this is my jump pack captain. And I've got a squad of jump pack intercessors with flying stands already attached. So those will probably be either the next project I work on personally, or if you'd like to see them painted on the stream, let me know. Be happy to do that. Also, I'm not just chatting. I'm also buying a little time to get some of this uh, dried. Want a slightly smaller brush, I think. We'll go with this one here. Alright, go ahead and wet it a little, dry it out some, pick up some contrast paint. Yeah, I think I will do those specific pads in the crest, shield crest in the ultramarine blue, signifying he was once part of the ultramarine detachments before joining the Angels Reborn. Ooh, that's coming out a little thick. We'll get around all the little bits here. And we'll go back over that with, which one is it? Wraithbone White. Give it a nice scroll color. There we go. Bring myself in a little more. There we are. Haven't done much in the way of additional projects right now. It's been mostly just, streaming the games and working my butt off. Life of millennial, right? But there's hope. Some hope that we can all get through this. Okay, this one's going to be a little easier because we'll just paint around the seal here. Get into the, that's okay. White scar, we'll fix that. Either that or just straight up Corex white. I think Corex white will work a little better there. As I've said before, I'm not an expert. I'm not a professional painter. I just do this as a hobby. And I enjoy it. I wish we lived in a culture where we didn't have to constantly grind and to pay for the necessities and use our hobbies as a source of income. It's kind of a travesty, in my opinion, of how often we take our hobbies and have to make them our income. Here we are. And we're going to do the shield, or not the shield, we're going to do his cape as well in this nice burgundy color. So get in there. Nice contrast. Around there. There we go. Get a nice contrasting color on the outside of the cape and the visible parts of the inner cape. You don't want to lay it on too thick because that creates too great a discrepancy, which I have been learning. A little more there. And go downward and let the paint flow to the base. There we are. That is creating a nice shade of purple with that ultramarine and that McCrack glue underneath. Anyway, quick other thing. I had a D&D game. I run 5e 5th edition with a group of friends online, and it's been one heck of a blast. We had a epic boss fight where a couple of my players had a set of NPCs that been a problem for them for a while now. One's straight up from her past. The other one is not from her past, but working for someone from her past. And I'll just say it was an epic fight. There were explosions, there were magic, and there was eventually a adult white dragon involved. So, yeah, it created a nice, beautiful scene of an epic boss fight. I don't think I got that primed properly underneath. That's okay. Get in there. We'll just a little thicker to make it come out better. You'll have to forgive me. I do live next to a busy road, so you might hear a lot of traffic, which is unavoidable considering where I live. But who knows? I might be able to get out of here next year and find a slightly better place. Let's get a little more burgundy underneath there. There we go. Nice layer. Again, you won't be able to see everything, and I'll come back in with the emerald to get more details underneath, but the outer layer is looking very nice. So we'll clean the brush off, and we'll use the smaller brush to get some of those finer details. Thank you again for joining me today. Your support means a lot, and it's a small channel. I don't mind. I don't think it'll really do much, but it's what I like doing. So your support means a lot, guys. All right. Let's see here. I want to get a little more of that emerald on the under bits that I can barely see. So we'll stick with the same brush, pull out the emerald. And we'll move on to the more solid colors of not necessarily the metallics yet, because I don't feel like cleaning out my brush or my paint water yet. So we get in there with this. Okay. Can't really see it much, but down, down, down. Just a general coverage of the green, so that way it's covering up some more of the stuff I don't want to be seen. That way, it'll make me feel better. That's the only reason why we get underneath is to make ourselves feel better about the color. But we want to focus all the detail on the parts we can see. So we'll touch up here and there, just making sure we get bits. Right. One final pass. Teeny amount on this bit. There we are. A little more on that leg pad underneath the gun. And fill that spot in. Oop. Okay, my cracked blue is pretty thick, so there we are. Alright, there we go. There's that. And I'm going to go in next with a Black Legion contrast. I need to get more of this. I use the black contrast a lot. Oh, excuse me. I do hope that sometime in the near future, at least, I can get get these models, the marine models I've painted thus far, plus my little army that I've started printing, ready to paint, or not paint, but ready to play, because I think that would be really fun. For now, I'm gonna go ahead. Alright, look at him. He's coming out pretty good, isn't he? Yeah, he's coming out nicely. I know the colors look a little weird, but well, it's the army I've decided to go with. So we're gonna run with that. We're gonna do the hilt and handle in this black as well. We're gonna get his. We're gonna paint this a nice golden color. Actually, silver. I think we'll do silver for most of this. And I gotta show you a nice little thing I do with my bladed weapons here. Something that I've done with my Eldar, I don't think I have any for Tau. Yeah, we'll do skull in black as well. It's decorative. Doesn't really. And it'll probably be redone in a little bit of Corax white mixed with some brain heart, wraith bone. That's the word I was looking for, wraith bone. Let's see here. Most of the bolter is going to be black with silver. Interesting. His Aquila, or half Aquila there, on the inside instead of on the outside. Might have been just a print error, or might have been just personal choice. Let's get in there. I like using the black contrast because it naturally makes when you do the slap shot method, it naturally makes those kind of subtle highlights that black offers. And we will probably do the hilt a slightly different color as well. Paint over that for now. We'll get loaded up with silver after. Get in there with a little more black. There we are. Now comes the fun part for me. Getting in all those tight little crevices of his. Alright. Most of the armor's dry, but I want to get that inner thigh. Not too much there. Don't want to accidentally get too much of the emerald. There we are. Look at that inner arm bit too. Not too much. That happens. Can you really see that? Yeah, you can. Well, I should have gone in with my finer detail brush, but, you know, we live, we learn, we paint. Alright. Get a little more black on the blade guard there. There we go. Excellent. Now, I think we're just about done with the contrasts for now, which means we're going to bust out the... Oh, I remember what I said I wanted to do. Haha, I remembered. Wipe this off. There we are. And I wanted to get his little crest things there. One of those. Painted in the ultramarine blue. So that way, we can show off where he's from. I'm going to try something I haven't done before with those. I'm going to try and get some of that. Oops, not enough. I'm going to try and get some of that Corax white. And I'm going to try to make the checkered pattern on his crests there. You know, he's not only a captain, but a veteran. If I remember the lore correctly, veterans are the ones that get to wear the big Terminator armors. There we go. Okay. So we'll let that dry off. We'll get the raised bone white here in a minute, and the Corax white. Now for his nice glowy weapon, his blade here, I think I know what color I want to use first. Alright. So this is generally what I do. I get a nice light color and just kind of soak the weapon. Give it a bright color to work with as an undercoat. Because the next color that's going on is going to actually drown out this, but it's going to give those highlights something to shine through. It's a technical color that I picked up. No more. It's on the actual blade. There we go. And when that dries, it's going to create a nice little effect. One of my printed pieces, don't mind that. Alright. We'll close that up for now. Sheesh, I'm running low on some of these paints, so it's definitely time to pick up some new paints, some more paints later. Alright, so once that dries, we're going to put this waystone green over the blade itself. It's going to create a nice little kind of effect as if it's a powered weapon. And I'm personally a huge fan of that. Alright, let's see. We're going to do the emeralds dried pretty nicely, so we will go ahead and take this Corax white first. And just lightly, very lightly. Oops, shake that one up a little more. There we are. We're going to lightly brush over a thin down layer of Corax white onto his skull bits and emblems. Right there for now. Almost out of that jar, but that's okay. I've got more. There we go. Nice and thin. Alright. Thin down. Let's get started. Just thin down layer and then a light brushing of white scar over it. There we go. Or I guess you could say edge highlighting. Not really dry brushing, but we're going to thin it down to the consistency of it. Almost a dry brush. That's okay. I'll come back and clean that up with some more of my coat, of my other layer. Get that nice and there we go. And his knee pad. There we are. We'll add a thin wraith bone layer over the seal. Now, I'm not good at freehanding yet. I might risk it, I might not. But I might write down, put down a few scribbles. Kind of a purity, not purity shield. Hello, familiar. Alright, I'm going to talk about Demon Souls for a moment because that game has been a mixed bag for me personally. I enjoy it. However, it does have those moments where it just makes things that much more difficult to deal with. The dragon puzzle took a little longer than I would have liked to figure out. The man-eaters, I mean, I guess it was mostly user error because I've noticed that I breezed through a good portion of this game. Mind you, I've had experience with Souls games. Elden Ring, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and played a little bit of Bloodborne. And of course, Elden Ring, Night Ring. The trouble I have it has been just one of not realizing the difficulty. You get a white head, sir. Alright, let that dry. However, I'm still having fun, and I feel like, despite it feeling like a short game, it's still going to take me a little time to get through and finish this game. It's been one heck of a journey, honestly. So I want to thank everyone that's been watching along with that. So we're going to do something a little interesting here. Since I'm saving the metallics for near the end of the main colors, what I'm going to do is get that Wraithbone White. I'm gonna get all his purity seals in that color. I think I want to do the purity seals actually in that ultramarine blue as well. Although I do have red. I might do red. But we'll get the purity seals, and then we'll get the base coat done on this tyrannid, crushed tyrannid here. The part that is, his face. Gonna check one thing here. I'll just step off screen for a second. Okay, yeah. Those plates run almost all the way down. I think what would have been cool is instead of having the no brain fart. Instead of having the psychophage model have the uh, ultramarine half-eaten, should have been the wing tyrannid prime kind of standing over a dead marine. That would have been cool because the base of the captain is a dead tyrannid. Of course, opinions are everywhere. So, think what you want, do what you want. Alright, get a little Korak, or Wraithbone White, lay it down. Excuse me. We'll also, we'll get a little thicker layer, and we'll get that. On the actual Tyranids, I have this contrast medium, and that's just gonna help me thin down my paints to quickly get a thin layer of the Wraithbone White here over most of the Tyranid bodies. And normally I would do much of the metalwork in gold, but I think I'm going to go silver this time. I like the silver better, it's subtler. We'll probably do 2 thin layers of that. And then we'll do either ultramarine or we'll do red. I think I might do red after all. No? Well, I forgot something. That's okay. You can always come back to it. And then with more purity sealing, 2 thin layers. That's always been the best advice, is 2 thin layers. Though this contrast paint does come in pretty thick, so at times. So I think 1 layer evenly spread, and get those nice highlights. Well, why not? We'll end up throwing some silver over that anyway, but nice little touch there. Alright. Next up, the Tyranid's actual body. We'll thicken that up some. There we are. Besides Demon's Souls and the games I'm currently playing, I will be picking up Space Marines 2 in the next few weeks. So that's going to go on the rotation of random games I'm playing. Be sure to keep an eye out on that. Get in that crevice. Thank you. This thing is a little more difficult to paint than I expected on that part. But it's dead, so it doesn't matter. Alright. Oh, I missed the seal. Haha! That's why you always look over everything. Make sure you got what you want. Oh, yeah. I'm just waiting on his identifying shields there before I try and go in with White Scar. Not Corax White, but White Scar, and get those whites looking good. Alright, carefully. So, whoop, whoop. There we are. If you have any fun projects that you're working on, if you're painting a group of minis and you're watching this, let me know. I would love to know what you're working on. If you have tips, suggestions as well, please. I could use all the tips and suggestions. Take into consideration all those factors. That way, we all work together and build a better model. I'm joking, of course. We all share, and the more we share, the more our cups overflow. We can help each other grow and become better. Doesn't that make the world a better place too? I think we need more love in the world, so I want to share some of my love with you all. It already has enough darkness. We don't need any more. I say as I'm painting a grim, dark featured character. Haha! Yeah, we'll add a little bit of bone white too up here as well. Just to kind of, I mean, it'll be in silver, but having that underneath warm white with a thin down silver, that's going to make an interesting effect in my opinion. We'll see the end result though. And I want to get his face. Now, I'm terrible at painting eyes, I'm terrible at painting faces, so I cheat. We'll just go ahead and go in with this Wraith Bone White over the face as kind of a base color. I have a flesh shade that I like to use on skins. Yeah, again, we're just trying to paint only what we can see. We don't need to get too fancy schmancy. We don't need to get too crazy. There we are. Get your mouth there, sir. All right. I think it's just about time to start going over some of the already thinned down first layer here, just to thicken it up and get a nice even coating. There we are. Already looking brighter. Get a little more paint down. There we are. Perfect. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to go back over some of this with the white scar to give a highlighting. Oh, whoa. Sorry. Part of the model reflected some light here on this purple, giving off an almost gold glow off the cape, which I want to keep that effect. It looks cool. Get off there, cat hair. Alright. Get in there with that. Get a little more here, up here. We're almost ready to start doing Corax White, not Corax, Wraithbone White on our Tyranid models. We're going to play around with the contrast medium just to make it a little faster to spread out. There we go. I've used the contrast medium a few times in experiments, but this one's going to be interesting. Now we're going to clean this brush off. We're going to get that media, a bigger brush. We're going to throw on some of the, here we are. I'm going to use this brush. Because there's a lot of coverage that I need to go over with these tyranids. Now, I'll be doing the wings as slightly darker, kind of brown, maybe using like Reichland brush again, or Agrax Earth Shade as kind of a shade coverage. And we'll get the claws, like the actual bladed claws themselves, or leave those in a black. We'll have the body in the Wraithbone white, and the main carapace in purple with a purple contrast, the Midas purple contrast over that. So that way we have all kinds of fun colors. First, let's get that Wraithbone white. Get a nice thick amount because we got quite a bit of coverage to do. There. Now we wash off the white from the brush before we dip it into our contrast medium. There we go. Get that contrast in. And again, this is just to make things go a little more quickly. One, two, and we're just going to mix it all in. The contrast medium will help thin the paint down to make a faster, easier coverage. And while usually you use contrast to kind of create that slap chop method, using their regular paints doesn't really, with the contrast, doesn't create the same effect because contrast you kind of want to see through. However, for my purpose, it creates a nice, even, quick coat. That's why it's called speed painting. Now, I have struggled with tyranids before. Tyranids kind of were the bane of my painting existence. Oh, shoot. However, with these new methods, I might actually be able to do decently. And we're just doing these guys in the high fleet Leviathan. All that excess paint off my finger that I accidentally brushed with. So we'll get let's get the wings too. All over coverage. That actually is coming out quite nicely. Get the claws done in black. I think I need a little more Wraithbone, a little more contrast paint. So we'll shake that up some more. Ha! There we go. Because I have quite a few tyranids to work through. So let's get as much of this paint onto the palette itself. And get some more of the contrast in. Contrast medium. Come on, you. There we are. Just want it thin enough and yet enough of it that we can get a nice even layer over everything. What am I doing? I have, haha, big boy base fish. There we go. Alright, there we go. Get all those nice crevices with that coloration. Probably do the blades a slightly different color actually, instead of just black. Maybe dip them in a red. There we go. That's it. That's what we like to see. Get some of that loose contrasting coloration over every part of it. And because, you know, it's based in a white, it won't be affected as greatly. So let's get the wing on him. Figure, you know, we get started painting up these guys, get their, at least the base layer colorations on some of these guys, these tyranids before I finish my captain off. That way, when all said and done, I can finish off these guys later. Let's see, get the under the wing here. Now there is a method where I can just, you know, paint in pieces, but you know, where's the challenge in that? Still, I don't mind too much. If that's your preferred go-to method, trying to get all the, that's fine. We'll fix it later. But if you want to paint your mini in pieces, that's fine. That works out for some people. I just don't have the right tools, nor do I want to risk trying to drill holes into my models to get that set up. Plus, this is kind of how I was taught, so. But you're never too old to learn something new. Don't forget that. You're never too old to learn something new. Because our whole existence is learning. Learning to live with ourselves, with each other, learning to grow as people, to help one another, to uplift each other, to share knowledge. That's what I think is a good purpose to have. But again, life, universe, everything, its purpose is whatever you want it to be. There we are. Get in there with some of that. And like I said, right now we're just getting that underlayer in Reef on White, so that way we have a nice start. These guys are going to be a lot easier. We'll just get these guys all painted up. Smaller models always are easier to paint. Again, these guys came from a starter set, Hatchet Collections sends them out, and this will be my second time painting these things, so it shouldn't be too difficult, right? We'll do their plates a slightly different color this time as well. A slight mutation has come to Highfleet Leviathan. What could it possibly mean for the Imperium of Man? Just these. Get in there. Again, at this point, this is just kind of like the underlayer, base layer. I'm just gonna get this all painted up. We'll probably do actually a thicker purple on his face. Instead of the Nagaroth Knight, we'll just do the contrast in a darker shade. or do a thicker layer of the contrast, I should say. That way, it'll come out nice and nasty. Get this side of his arm there. Alright. Get his head. I've noticed something, by the way, with the some of the models is the smaller head crests. I think indicate they were once gene sealers, so they're once something else, or at the very least, their genes came from the gene sealer cult. Kind of a nice bit of lore, though, if that's true. That means they're reusing certain biomasses. Alright. One Von Rhein-Lipa down. Two more to go. Big old stretch. I feel like a cat right there. Bring in some of the paint here. And then we'll probably need to re-up the paint there. That's okay. Get into the slightly more difficult spot. What makes me think also from gene sealers for these guys is the fact that these things have the tentacle mouth, and I've only seen them on some of the higher ranking gene stealers. Yeah, it's time for a little more paint, I think. A little more paint, a little more contrast. One, two, three. And we'll be changing my paint water out at break, which, as a reminder, is in about 30 minutes. Dab, dab, dab. A little more. There we are. Mix it all in. There we are. Now we have a little more paint to work with. Let's continue. Nice layer over all the fleshy bits, and we'll go over with the Nagaroth Night Purple there that I've got. Kind of scored away off screen. We'll be going back over the armored bits on this Tyranid, these Tyranids. It's kind of a way to clean everything up, which is exactly what we try and do. We like clean models. We like having a finished product. There we are. Get the underside there. A little more of that chest, face. There. There we are. We'll do the Von Rhein-Lipa blades in the actual bladed bits in a more red undertone there. Almost forgot his arm. Haha, I got it. There we go. There. Alright. Once these guys dry, we can come back to them. But I still have a little more to do with the captain on the base colorings, I think. So So I'll go back over that real quick with the captain, and then we'll move on. Probably start doing the metallics after the break. Alright. Hopefully, you're all enjoying this as much as I am, or at least enjoy watching me and hearing me blather on. I have no new lore right now. Like I said, I've been kind of busy with the stream and streaming my games and everything, but, well, I need to change that this weekend. Probably sit down, take a little time, once I get prep myself for my 3D printer for a few hours, so that way I can actually get caught up on the ones that have printed projects I've already got done, printed, so that way I can paint them. There we are. And yeah, I'll probably sit down this weekend. I gotta write the next section. Start writing the next section of my 5e game that I'm running. Hopefully, maybe even get a little more lore drops on Seven Spheres. Start working on a campaign on the campaign frame for that setting. So that's where my current D&D game is taking place. Is my Seven Spheres setting. Yeah, we'll coat that top piece in purple. Oops. See, we make mistakes. We learn from them. We clean them up. There we go. Oops. There we are. All right. Now we just let that dry. We go back to the captain and get those purity seals. Now that the other white has dried, and we're going to get the white scar onto, as a highlight onto his other bits. Excuse me. There we go. Alright. And I need to try to do that checkered pattern. I don't remember if, here, let me see something real quick before I get too involved in that. Uh, One moment. Here we are. Ooh, that's quite a bit of, that is quite a bit of details that I do not want to try and do. So only one of them is in the split colors. And there's a checker pattern on his shoulder pad. So we're going to try something a little different here. We're going to first get the purity seals. We'll do that in this bald red color here. And then we're going to do a white scar gently over the skull centerpieces. And after that, we're going to do the checkered pattern on in white scar as well here. And we're going to do kind of a checker pattern across his plate here. We're going to split that in half, and we're going to do an ultramarine blue on half the armor there, signifying his rank and his affiliation. Actually, no, we'll do a little, do it in half white to show he is in fact, a veteran. Yes, that came out. So we'll actually, after I get the purity seals, we're actually going to get some of that green, waystone green, applied. Nice little thick right there. Nice thick red there. Because the seals are in red. There we go. Do you have any more purity seals? Nope. There we are. Look at we got the purity seals. Let's move on to waystone green. That's gonna be fun. All right. I think I'll do his base last because the remainder of his base last because that's gonna be a trip. Come on, you. Ah, well, gunk, leftover gunk from previous paint jobs. Nope. Come here, you. Alright, there we are. Uh-oh, I'm losing something here. There it is. Just gotta fix one thing real quick. There we go. Alright, look at this waystone green across his blade. Now, by the time we're done with that, that should create a... Oh, come on, you. Stay up. Stay up. Stay open. There we go. The waystone green creates a very nice kind of clear effect. Mind you, in a green. God dang it. I need a little more. Stay open. You ever have this trouble with your paints? Then again... Uh-oh. God dang it. Oh, God. That happens to one of my other paints. It's unfortunate. So that means I gotta be careful when I'm handling that. There we are. There we go. Spread it across. Bring it down some. That way. Leaves a nice edge, and here we go. We're gonna actually do this. Get some of that excess out. There we are. There we go. Now we turn him around. We'll go ahead and get this side. It says ultramarines, I think. Maybe. I could be wrong. Get in there. Yeah, I have. If you, I might have them posted. I definitely have them posted on my Discord. If you want to see my other models I've already painted thus far, let me know. I will post them in Bluesky. There we are. And that, when it dries, is going to look awesome. And then we clean off that. And we're going to use this same brush for now to get Corax White going. first, there we go, fix it. And this is why we have the towels. All right, Corex white. We're going to lightly brush using the side here with the layer. We're going to thin it down just a hair. So we're going to grab this. Just a few dots. Take that. Okay, maybe a little more thickness. So a little thinner than I'd like. Okay. Dry it off just a hair. Why is it coming out red? What is going on here? Oh, I think that's from the purity seals. So let's go ahead and get that nice and soaked. Oh, I'm using the wrong brush that I had. It's this one. There we are. There we are. We're just doing a light, almost dry brushing on the highlighted edges. We'll try to anyway. Yeah, that came out a little more than I expected, but probably too thin with paint. So we'll thicken it up some more. That nice white scar white going. And we'll be going back over in silver anyway, but I want to hit all the other skull bits that I didn't get. Specifically did not get, by the way. No. A little too thick, but that's okay. We refine, we learn, we grow. This is a layer that I'm working with here. Technically, it's layer painting, so it's creating those nice little highlights for me. Now I'm going to go in with a Cobalt green near the end to kind of highlight some of the edges. There we are. Now we're going to go in a little thicker here with this. I'm going to go ahead and split the shield, or the pauldron right down the middle. We're going to create a white scar and a white layer just to show allegiance or just to show rank. See how that comes out. Maybe a little more. There. Not the greatest at freehanding, but I think I did all right. Now, of course, if I planned this out properly, I would have cheated and used pencil to help guide my paint strokes. But even then, it can be a little difficult. So we're going to get in here. We're just going to go. Here we are. There we go. I'm going to do this cross. We're going to thicken this in a little bit more. There we go. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, that's it. That's it. A little hard to see in this particular lighting, but I think it's going to come out nicely. There we are. All right. I think. Ah, missed a little bit of skull caps or skulls here. A lot of skulls on these guys, huh? All right. That white came out pretty nice. Excellent. Now, do I want to continue with this guy and get the metallics done now, or some of the metallics done now, or do I want to go to the purple? I think we will go with the purple for now, just to move things along until break and try and get as much of these guys done as we can tonight. After all, we're here to have fun. All right, get the purple out, soak up the brush a little. There we go. Alright, and we're going to paint this dead tyranid in that Magos purple shading for now. And we're going to get the rest of the tyranid. We're going to get the actual purple of this tyranid here. As kind of a thin dry coat layer, and then we'll add another layer of the Magos purple. Just doing a little pre-shading here. Oops, not too much purple, that's okay. Alright. There we go. Alright, our ultramarine's looking pretty good. Oh, before I forget, this time, we're going to clean that off, and we're going to get that last little bit that's been bothering me every time I notice it from the back. I was going to paint the hoses. You know what? I can do the hoses in silver. We don't need to worry about that right now. But yeah, there's our captain thus far. We'll let the coloration dry. Ooh, yes. See that how that waystone green's coming? Once it's fully dry, it's going to look so cool. I promise. All right. All right. Where am I? We are getting. Let me get this guy. I'm going to get his carapace bits. That purple. Nice and purple. There we are. And we'll go over that and some of the fleshy bits lightly in the contrast color this time. Because I've made the mistake of overdoing the contrast. Purple down here for now. In my paint palette, that's just off screen. That is looking like milk. That's kind of disturbing. No matter. There we go. We're going to get just the edge bits of his evil looking blade there. Clean up with some other colors. Yeah, we'll get the carapace done on this guy at least real quick. Then I will be taking a short break. Get up, stretch, restrooms, checking on other elements of my living space. Make sure that my cats are doing okay. Do a nice purple tongue. How about that? Yeah. Bleh. Turn there, bud. And we're actually going to darken the wings a little more with another coloration. So let's get the purple up top here. We'll do a second layer, a thin layer of purple as well. Once we're certain he is nice and dry. I have just realized in my Confederated Systems Alliance, my space opera setting, I don't have any mindless horde armies. I'll need to rectify that later. Ooh, that might be a little too thick. Oh, it's okay. We'll thin it out some and move on. There we go. Ah, there we are. Don't want it too thin, otherwise it's just going to be patch meal. Don't want it too thick, otherwise it's going to clump wrong. And that's why you do two base layers, two layers. That way, it comes out nice and clean and even. That's one of the hardest parts I find about tyranids is all the way that their bodies contort to get that color in. Ah, a little more purple. There we go. Oops, hold on a second. There we are. All right. Get that purple on there. Ah, that's the right thickness. That's what I needed. Look at that beautiful purple. There we are. Something I do like about Warhammer models, especially if you are like me and enjoy a good science fantasy series, a story of modern or sci-fi tech with magic, and using these in your RPG games, as a DM at least, throwing them down for your players to face, watching them realize, oh shoot, I brought the wrong weapon to this fight. It's so fun. I have thrown in my own D&D game. I have thrown players up against giant robots, mechs, demons, all kinds of stuff. So having a bunch of different, factions, modern soldiers as well. I've had them actually take on a corporation's security division. Well, not entire division, but definitely a corporation security team, which has led to a lot of discontent with corporations in general in my universe. But that's because where that corporation was from, the nation's not very good. They're very much uh, son of a gun. One moment. I do not want that in my chat. Thank you. get out here with that. But yeah, the corporations are after rare magic crystals that the party happens to come across, and they learn that these crystals are being constantly moved for research and development. It's a brand new field of magic too that they're all studying. So, of course, the security and technology corporations want it for making more money for themselves and creating weapons of war. Meanwhile, one of the players is from the university, a college, a premier college, I might add, in this world. And, college student ideologies, especially helping the world, those are always fun combinations. But they get a lot more traction. Here we go. This is another example of if you can't see it, don't fully paint it. And that's what I'm doing here. And because this is the prime, I'm going to do this teeny bit on his chest. This nice little purple. There we are. We'll get underneath as well. Just underneath there. See? There we are. Now this you can kind of see from the outside, so I want to get as much coverage as I can. Again, because it is, in a hard to see spot of the mini, you don't have to give it the full detail. Don't work yourself to death trying to get just the right angles for everything. That's an effort in futility. Instead, create some focal points that people will pay attention to. Design features. I just learned this one too, but designs and features of the model that you want to focus on. What story does it tell? What story do you want to tell with the model? It's just like an RPG. What story do you want to tell? There we are. First base layer done. I'll come back in later with the second base layer. And it is just about break time. We're going to change. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. I'll be back in 10 minutes, and when I get back, that's when we will start finishing off this marine here. Excuse me. We're going to finish him off. We're going to get the metallic bits done. We're going to get probably add that last little bit of purple to the ground there. Maybe add a few little bits of dust coloration from the Wraithbone white there. Maybe touch up the pad. But yeah, we'll be starting two thin layers. We'll be starting two layers. One lead filter, and we'll layer over it, highlight some of the middle bits with Runefang steel. And we'll get in with some more highlights using Copperlight Green across some of the other bits of the armor. So, with that in mind, I will be back in 10 minutes. I look forward to continuing our chatting and painting. See you then. There we go. Alright, and we are back. So, familiar. I'm a little busy. Don't know if you can hear her off screen, but my familiars decided to interrupt my painting here. That's okay. Alright, we're going to first get a little bit more of this purple onto the tyrannid, and then we will continue on getting the metallic bits and end with a flourish of shading. I hear you. I'm preoccupied, familiar. I get that you're the only one that wants to talk to me right now. Although some of you might be out there listening. All right, get that purple on. Get it nice and paint it on there with the purple the purple contrast underneath. That should help a lot. There we are. Now I primed him in a gray first, which I'm now realizing was a little bit of a mistake. I think I should have primed him in a black in general, because that's generally the color you want to start with for slap chop and get those recesses really dark, and then work your way out to the lighter colors with your dry brushing. In there with all that Nagaroth or that Magos purple. We'll do another thin layer of Magos purple over, kind of round out the coloration there. There we are. Get the last little bit of the purple. Oops, probably want to move those out of the way here in a moment. Get into all the little holes, get the coverage nice and even. And there we have it. One dead tyrannid smashed under the foot of our captain. Captain Tiberius is his name, by the way. He has served for a couple hundred years, almost to the start of the founding, almost, of the Angeli Regnati, if I remember the name correctly. I just called them the Angels Reborn, but someone was so helpful in the Play On Discord, Play On Tabletop Discord. If you love Warhammer, you want to see some friends having a blast running around different armies, go check them out on YouTube. Play On Tabletop. They have a lot of cool games going. And if you enjoy what they do and want to support them, do support them. Follow them. Become a Play On Tabletop member through their YouTube or Patreon and join their Discord for free. All right. Let's get those metal bits first. And I think I'm going to do something a little unusual here. The darker bits, I want to do a kind of almost silvery color. So we'll go ahead and take our starter brush that I've been using since I first picked up the introductory set. I'm going to plop some contrast right down here. Plop some contrast down, and we're going to take that lead belcher. I'm going to use that as a contrasting paint to get nice even coverage. I want to shake up that lead belcher a little more. Yeah, some of the guys on the Play On Tabletop Discord server helped me actually come up with the name and the kind of theme behind these guys. So thank you so much, Play On, for really helping me get into the deeper into the hobby. Ooh, that's a little thick. Just take a little bit more. We have 3 dollops. of 1. We'll get, mix it in, help thin it down somewhat, make it more into a kind of contrasting paint. We'll get in there, get the details. This time, I don't mind if some of the silver gets through on the gun at least, because that will show proper wear and tear of the weapon. Because, the silver bits are just there to kind of, the black is just kind of painted on. It's not really anything important, though I doubt it is solid metal, showing the metallic bits over other parts may inspire something unique. We'll get that front bit there, see? There we are. We'll get that better coverage. Alright, that was easy. A little thin line there. Leave the skull as is. And we're going to actually try and straighten out the tip of the brush. That way, I can get much better detail and coverage. I'm going to take just a little bit here to try and get the outer. There it is. There we go. And we'll do his crest in silver as well. We'll start with the lead belcher and kind of do a mini light highlighting across the entire crest here as well. Just get the raised edges type of thing. There we are. Again, I must apologize. My living situation has me close to a slightly busy road, so eventually I hope to find a place where I can just. We'll get a little more emerald on there later. There we are. Alright, and I want to remind people who are watching, tomorrow is Baldur's Gate 3 stream with my character Astral, currently at the Goblin Camp. So tune in to see where I end up next time on that. Yeah, so we'll get this bit nice silver. There we go. Nice shiny metal. And I don't know, I'm enjoying doing the paint streams, but I've been considering reducing my time on streaming in general by one day. The working full time and doing streaming is taking a toll, and currently I'm not really making much off of just streaming here. That being said, if you do follow me and support me and want to see more, keep on following on. I'll be happy to try and produce as much content as possible. But I might take one of my streaming days off just to actually have some time to consider and make some other content that I've been wanting to do. Maybe pick up Paint and Chat another time later in the future, where we can all enjoy my progress in skill. And who knows, you might actually learn a couple of things. Come on, get that nice even coverage. Get around the skull. Formerly servitor skulls or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Alright. And finally, the headdress. Look at that headdress. Nice layer silver there. What I like about the silver is it's subtle, but like not subtle. It's able to give a nice layer, singular layer, even thinned down. It gives a nice singular layer. That way you don't have to fret too much. Helps that the metallic particle bits that are part of the paint kind of help give a layer. You can actually see where you've actually painted. So sometimes that's a little difficult. All right. Next thing is our propulsions there. Go ahead and clean that out. That way we can get, we'll go with a slightly smaller brush. There we are. Pick up some of that paint. We'll go back over some of the other bits there that I want to just touch up with the silver. All right. Down the edges there. There we are. There we go. All right. Of course, I'll be showcasing more of the models that I'm painting and printing. You can check those out on bluesky. I might, I think, yeah, I'll do I'll finish the tyranids off screen. Because, yeah, stick to gaming streaming for now. Take that extra day to start making some of the other content that I've been wanting to make. Audio drama, or audio lore drops, those kind of things. Because I have an interest in voice acting, and I'd like to get some more practice in with those. If you have a monologue, by the way, or if you have something you'd like to hear me read, let me know on bluesky. If you're part of my Discord, drop that stuff off to me. I am more than happy to read through and try and do an audio recording. If you like it, then we can negotiate publication. Otherwise, it's just a fun idea I have in mind. That being said, I need to dig up an old file of mine of a monologue I did back before I moved out of my old place to here, where I introduced the universe, the world specifically, to a group of players of a very Dark Souls-esque campaign. Like, almost shamelessly stealing the mechanics of Dark Souls itself. Get in there, touch up those details, get that a little more silver. And we'll do a light. Get in there with the vents. There we are. A little bit of silver there. Get along the edge here. And see if I can't get underneath as well. Not that anyone's really gonna see. I might come back and do some more touch-up details later. Try and get those looking good. Come on. Just a teeny bit. Get in those recesses. Come on, come on. You can do this, Alexei. Astral. There we go. And tap, 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 tap. There we are. All right. What do we think? How's our captain looking? I think he could use a little shading. First, we'll get the highlights done. We're going to use the same brush as this last time. We're actually going to take Runefang steel. I'm going to take that across some of the more metally bits, just lightly highlighting around the central chest piece there. And then we're going to take this cobalt green. We're going to highlight some of the edges of his armor and his sword. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that blade. Nice little glowing effect there. Let me see what that says here. It says Tyrannosaurus. Never noticed that before on the captain's blade. A little more shaky. There we are. Again, we're just doing a light, almost dry brush of him, of his metal bits. There. So we're gonna just to lighten things up a little. Give it more lighter, highlighted kind of silver across various emblems and such. There we are. Leave the gun as is, but we want to get this bit here. A little more. There we are. We want to get the sword, kind of highlight the sword edges there. Why not? Make it nice and sheen and shiny. We'll also do the same on here. Just kind of give his pauldron a little more of a highlight there. Right along the highlighted bit there. There we are. Where it's nice and shiny. What? Yeah, shiny is what we want. Kind of catch the edges here. I think this Runefang steel gives a more silver rather than general metal, but that's okay. Lightly catching the raised edges of his pauldron. There we are. Alright, next. Cobalt green across the majority of his armor. Give a nice subtle highlighting there. If I get done here, well, I still have tyranids to paint. So we'll give that a shot. Move these guys back a little more so that way I can have some more room to show you what I'm actually painting. There we are. I don't normally do the highlighting, honestly. I try and use the purely the slap chop method. But sometimes you just gotta try new things. And we're just gonna get some of this cobalt green across little bits, show off some highlights. catch some of the raised edges there, showing off the unique armor and lightening up some of his darker bits there. There we go. I want to lighten this spot up a little. Kind of create that almost light effect across the gauntlet there. There we are. And we'll get the back too. That's it. There we are. Okay. Come on, give me a little more copper light green. There we go. We're gonna lightly scrape along the edge of the blade. A little more there. A little more on the raised edge. So I prefer to do a dry brushing on highlighting, honestly. Not that it's bad. We want to add a little more cobalt light green to the edge here. There we are. Just trying to lighten up some of the corners and edges. Alright. I think it's time for a little bit more Magos purple on the Tyranid he's currently crushing underfoot. And then we'll get into the shading. Now, I think the earth, the parchment, and his face. Now, the earth and the parchment bits are going to get the Agrax Earth Shade. And the white we will try and leave alone. Do a thin layer of, is this the one? Please tell me this is the one. Yeah, shade known oil. And finally, his face is going to get the Reikland flesh. Let's get the contrast purple back over to create more depth and shadow on the dead creature he's standing on. There we are. There we go. And we'll get. We'll start with the Reikland flesh. That'll be the easiest, smallest bit I have to worry about. And then we'll get the Agrax Earthshade. That'll cover the rest of the base and the dead Tyranid. There we go. Ooh, and we'll just do black over that. Alright, that's the purple. Let's go ahead and put that back over there. Reikland Flesh Shade. That's gold. That's the flesh shade. Oh, I forgot to get. Well, I'll be going back over his second layer in a minute anyway. Alright. Cover his face. Oop, a little too much. That's okay. Get all those nice recesses. We'll get his hair as well, and I'll probably go back over that bit with a little white at the end. pocket carrier white. Onward to Earthshade, Agrex Earthshade. Again, we're just covering bare bits, basic bits. Not too much on the brush, so we'll go ahead and kind of get that coverage. Get it over the skulls, get it over the scrolls, get it over the earth. There we are. A little bit more down here. Get it nice and pulled up. Just to kind of give a little more differentiation to the groundwork here. After all, they were fighting. These guys have been fighting tyranids for a while now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Fix it. Got it. That happens on occasion. Okay. And we'll come around here. Just to subtly get more shading there. And a thin down layer of that on this purity seal. This purity seal. I don't want to go too thick with shading. I have personally discovered because my gods, that's so difficult to work with. Around the base of the rock as well. A little thin amount. Give that gray stone a little bit of a life. And get it just on the tag there. Perfect. And a little bit on the skull. Gotta get both sides. There we are. That Reichland Flesh Shade works wonders, doesn't it? Alright. And with that, he is almost done. There's only a handful of touch-ups on him that I need to take care of. Just trying to find my known oil again. There it is. We'll put that over there for now. But yeah, just a little bit more touching up, a little more work to do on the actual captain. Very thinly, I want to do known oil on the white bits. So we'll take care of that first. Pick up a little, drop it off here to thin it down some. Just to kind of get into the recesses rather than full coverage. There we go. Get that a little bit darkened up. There we are. Add a little bit to the purity seal and to there, because that's a little out of the way. Add some to that. Just enough to show some wear. After all, these guys battle a lot. And then we'll just bathe the rest of this in. Ooh, I forgot. Did I forget? No, I forgot that purity seal. Well, the no will do its work, darkening it up a little. Alright. There we go. Turn it down some. Now we still have that nice white coloration. Alright, time for the known oil bath. This will help, of course, if you're not new to the painting scene, you'll know that This gets all those recesses nice and shiny. Kind of helps amplify my contrasts paints. Get in there with the known oil, get it all evenly covered, spread out. So that way it comes out nice and pretty. A little more coverage on the cake there. There we are. Get those pads properly shaded. Get the headdress piece there shaded. Oh yeah, that came out perfect. Take a little excess here and just spread the love. There we go. That's it. That's how you do it. A little known oil on the top of the rocks there to give it a little more depth. Oh, I'm almost out of my out of that jar. Finally. Darken the mouth, darken the eye. There we go. Get all the other bits nice and painted and covered. That way, when it dries, it's going to look amazing. Yep, a little too much there. That's okay. We'll do this. And we'll get the excess lifted up, and then we'll spread the love. Get around that. Get a little more on the leg here and dance around, because we don't want to darken that too deeply. And get the known oil over the chest piece. Get into the recesses. The leg, get the other leg, and his gun. Get the gun in hand. Now, we're almost done. We're almost done with the Captain and Terminator armor. We actually made it through an entire painting chat, and I got the gun, and I got one Marine painted in one sitting. That's a nice feeling. But again, I think paint and chat may have to be suspended for the foreseeable future. I'm going to go down to 3 streams a week instead of 4 until I have a little more time to work with, or if things start really picking up. For now, I'm going to keep paint and chat as a special little side project I'd like to do eventually. I have other things I want to really work on, so hopefully I can get those balls rolling. There we go. And there he is, Captain Tiberius of the 3rd Company, formerly of the Ultramarine chapter, now dishonored during a battle against the forces of chaos. He has risen up through the ranks once more to a Captain and Terminator armor under the Angels Reborn chapter. He leads his men to glory and victory, and most importantly, he shows that not only can you be redeemed, but you can rise really high in the Adeptus Astartes once more. Alright, So, it looks like we have 45 minutes. We're going to set him aside, let him dry the rest of the way. We're going to then now refocus our efforts on the tyranids. I don't think I'll be able to get these guys done in 45 minutes. Mostly because I've got a lot more to paint. So we will see what we can do there. I will be right back. I'm going to dump out the paint water because it's got metal bits in there from my metal paints. So hang tight. Give me about 30 seconds. There we are. It's always important to change out your paint water when it gets to that stage. Because if you don't, then it's going to get all kinds of weird effects across your minis that you may or may not want. Oh, oh. Time to get a back brace, huh? Here we go. Alright, let's take a look, make sure. Yeah, we're going to get some more. I'm going to set these aside for now. These paints over here, and I'm going to actually pull out. I'll keep that one out. I don't need that one. Don't need that one right now. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. I think I'll do a undercoat in a green for other things. Want that one. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. At least right now. And bring out the other colors. So we'll go ahead and take these. I could have done those in blue. Well, too little too late. Maybe in future paint. Ah! And is this some more? Yes, that is going to stay right there for reasons. Alright. So just off screen here, I got my little paint stand there, so that'll help me quickly pick out which paints and colors I want. Put my shades up top, my base layers down on the bottom for now. There we are. I'm definitely going to need more Black Legion contrast. I used that one surprisingly amounts of time. Alright. We're going to get the second layer on the Tyranid Winged Prime of the purple. After all, I did miss a spot. Oops, that happens. We just go back and finish it. Exactly. Get more purple on. Now I found that I have been running out of things to talk about. So, if you're still with me, thank you for listening in. Thank you for watching me do my best job at being a painter. Let's see. There we are. Get that tail spike. Because it is technically armor on the tail there. And I kind of like the coloration of High Fleet Leviathan. It's an easy two-tone coloration. Well, almost three-tone. You have the white, which gives it the nice base layer. You have the kind of fleshy tone, and then you have the purple with little bits of black and red mixed in, of course, because life is not just two colors or even three colors. It's a crazy number of colors. So you end up with like 4 or 5 tertiary colors. There we are. Nice dark purple. Thin down layers over everything. Get a little more. A little more. There. That's it. And this is why we do at least 2 thin layers. So that way, we give everything nice, even coverage. And it comes out that nice, bright color. And we look over where we missed the first time and touch up. Excuse me. That came out of left field again. Let's get that upper portion here. Get that shoulder blade. We'll add some more. We'll add a thinner layer to the entire body near the end of the contrast of at least the fleshy bits and the armored carapace. That's it. Let's get in there. Get your nose bit here. There we go. 2 thin layers make a beautiful tyranid. I think what I'll do, take some of that white scar, or wraith bone actually. Ooh, yeah, no, the wraith bone. I'll take the wraith bone, do highlights along the armor bits here, and then throw on that contrast. Thin down, of course, the thin contrast for most of the body. So that way you can really see the multiple color, the highlighting effect that I want to go for. I'll probably only do that on the back and on his head, because you can't really see down in here all that well, so it'll be okay if it's a darker shade. That way, we have a nice little illusion of highlights and colors. That's what we build with painting miniatures. We make the illusion of an epic scene. There we go. And just get around there. Yep. Yep. All right. I think, actually, let's get the edge here. There we are. And I think that's it for him for now, with the purple. Coming along nicely. Clean that off. There we are. Oh, let's get this one, Ryan Lipa. And he's got a little, looks like a little dip there that we can use to just subtly paint a purple as well on one side, and then add the Megos purple on the other. So I'm going to pick up a little more of this purple. Give it. Alright. Alright. Like I said, I like to get the all the little armored bits here a nice purple coloration. So that way it comes out a little thick there, but that's okay. Gives that more contrasting contrast to the Tyranid. There we are. Still trying to figure out how to get the camera angle right. Anyway, tomorrow, Baldur's Gate 3. I actually have a little surprise for y'all if I can get it to work right. Should be here tomorrow. If not, then Night Rain will get the special treatment. So we'll see when it comes in, and hopefully it is going to work well. It's a little thing that I have that I can hopefully make my stream a little less boring screen-wise. And who knows? It might lead to other fun stuff, including a how many times I've died ticker for Soulsborne games, or even how many kills I've got for Armored Core 6 if I do that. So maybe we'll see. I would love nothing more than to just spend time streaming a bunch of games, but unfortunately, we work for a living. I work for a living, and I'm sure many of you have day jobs, so your support means a lot. It helps supplement, if not, and keeps me going. So just sit here, listen to me chat, and watch. So thank you again. Everything I play, everything I stream, I should say, does go up on YouTube as well. So be sure to check out my YouTube channel. It is Astral Amethyst Travel, Astral Traveler Mage on YouTube. I put most of my all my streams up there, and give me about 2-3 months, maybe after the holidays. I may have some things in waiting to go there. Something that might be fun, might not be. You'll have to decide. All right, I think all that's left on him is his back and his blades. So yeah, paint and chat might be going away for a little while. Might come back as a special little thing that I want to do when I have more to talk about. I have a lot of ideas, a lot of little projects in mind, and I want to spend some extra time building on those. So, 3 nights of streaming, me playing games, and 1 night to work on, well, a couple nights to work on more eccentric projects like some voice acting. Maybe if you have a bit of lore, like world lore that you want me to share, let me know as well. I'm happy to practice my narration voice, or just practice voice acting in general because that's always fun. Get in there, more purple. I might need to pick up some more purple, or put down some more purple on my paint pot from my paint pot, just to finish off this guy here. Sheesh, got bibbles. I hate how his arms are. Oops. Yeah, that's alright. I'll get some wraith bone to cover that up. Or I might leave it as a marker of mutation. Yeah, that'd be cool actually. A mark of mutation there. And lastly, the tops of your shark bits here. around. Yeah, we're gonna add a little more purple. There we are. There we go. And that's one side just about done. We're doing the underside a different color, probably more red. And that's the other side done. I think I'm going to read up a bit more on Eberron. Eberron was one of my favorite, well, is my favorite thus far, official D&D setting. Um, just, I love the magic punk vibe. I ran a couple of games in that setting. It is really a fun setting to play with. The various dragon marked houses, the halflings riding dinosaurs. Those are always fun to do, fun things to see. Had a game where a friend of mine had jumped onto. We were doing the little free kind of adventure in the Eberron Rising from the Last War book, and she jumps onto a the one of the bandits that has the floating disc spell, and I thought it was just a floating disc. I misread it, but it turned into. Don't be afraid to change something for the rule of cool here, because it turned into a okay, it's a floating disc that someone kind of enchanted an actual disc to float around with, and she, after hijacking one of their floating discs after throwing the poor sod off the disc itself, uh, starts riding around, helping fight off the bandits. Goes to the shop the next day and is like, "I need you to make one of these for me." And sure enough, I created the what's it called? Hover disc. It's kind of it's a new experimental weapon, or not weapon, but magical item that will, well, who knows? It might inspire a new way to travel across Eberron, or at least across Sharn, because that's where the game took place, the city of spires. That one was, my God, it's a lot of fun. There we go. Need to spend a little more time watering down some of these. I think watering, thinning this out, because that came out gloriously. A little more. There you go. But we still want to do two thin layers, because then that way, get nice even coverage. There it is. Now I admit this time I started with the easiest part, mostly because I know I'm on a little bit of a time crunch here. After all, working nights, overnights is a thing that happens. There we are. Ooh, your blades are a little different, so we'll go ahead and paint those like that. Then down, moving on. Look at your little leg pads there. I've only got a few fun D&D stories that I can recall off the top of my head. However, every game that I have played, have ran, has been very enjoyable. There have been a few, bad games, but don't let those spoil your fun. After all, you learn, and if it's a good GM, they learn from their mistake and correct their errors, so that way everyone can have fun. Same with players. We should really just learn to understand and fix what's wrong with how we behave. If you don't, well, probably a good time to start learning how to. There, thank you. Not quicker than I'd like, but yeah. Again, I'm gonna do I'm gonna do the same thing here. Is I'm going to highlight with the Wraithbone White the purple bits before I lay down a layer of Magos Purple contrast paint. Contrast paints are one of my favorite forms of painting. I'm also going to pick up some speed paints eventually. See how well those work in comparison to the contrasts, which, I mean, they should be pretty comparable, similar kind of formula. There we go. There's back under the plate there, and we'll go back over our Von Ryan Leapers with another coat of purple, and he is looking nice. So I think I'm gonna hold off finishing him tonight and just try and go through and get all that purple on my Von Ryan Leapers. Seeing the tyranids just makes me want to run a game, in-person game again, and then fill out the stat box for these guys because they look nasty, and that'd be fun. Besides Dungeons Dragons and Daggerheart, uh, I personally am a fan of Genesis, which not for everyone, but it is definitely a very fun narrative-driven game. Uh, if you ever get the chance to try it out, I highly recommend it. It is chaotic, it is wonderful, it is weird, and it is a system that lets you pretty much build your own kind of setting and rules. So you can have all kinds of interesting sci-fi, space opera, fantasy, or some combination. I've done a cosmic horror kind of game. A couple of friends of mine have done almost a full Call of Cthulhu game in that system. Oops, I don't know what happened there, but yeah, no, definitely if you ever get the chance to check out Genesis, it is the only downside to that in the Star Wars role playing game that's associated with Edge Studios and formerly Fantasy Flight is that you have to get their unique dice. Uh, it's just they use symbols on their dice for a reason, which nothing wrong with that, but it can be limiting to have to get specific dice. So if you're at a con and they have it, definitely check it out. Otherwise, there are apps. There's dice rolling apps which can and can't help, but try some local stores. They may have a game of Genesis or the the Edge Studio Star Wars, which I also recommend that one for other reasons. Okay, he's done. Let's move on to the last leaper. Oh, nope, he's not done. His tail. Let's get that tail purplified. And the blade reddened. There we go. We'll come back over him and his buddy here if we have some time. The other systems that, let's see, what game systems do I actually have? I have Genesis, and I have Cyberpunk Red. Now, that one is a lot of fun. Matter of fact, on one of my random stream nights, or perhaps as a uh, fun little thing for long night when I'm not really doing much else, I might put on Cyberpunk 2077. Having said that, Red is a fun continuation of 2020, the Cyberpunk Second Edition, and shows what happened, kind of what happened in almost the immediate aftermath of the events that you learn of from Johnny Silverhand. Mind you, he is an unreliable narrator, so take what he says with a grain of salt on everything that happened. Additionally, uh, you know, there's a lot that happens in 2020, specifically the 2020 game, but yeah, you'll find certain clues and things from both 2020 and Red in Cyberpunk 2077, so keep an eye out for those. It is a very fun, interesting game to play. Uh, the gangs, the corporations, it's almost like it went from being a just a dystopian future to a post-apocalyptic dystopian future with a lot of cyberware. Mind you, they're just kind of more or less picking up the pieces of the events of the Fourth Corporate War. So you're not gonna see as much manufacturing. You're not gonna see as much going on. It's kind of in between the major cities and stuff. That's where the nomads kind of rule. But in Night City, it is still cyberpunk to the core. You have night markets that pop up to sell tech, but corporations are still roaming around trying to keep their stranglehold on society. You have edge runners trying to prove that they're the best. You have heroes and villains all around. And in the end, Night City eats you all. It is not as lethal as the older editions, as far as I understand, but it is still one of those kind of games that you want to be careful with your character and how you handle things tactically. That being said, you can easily go Cyber Psycho if you're not careful. Injuries that cause loss of limb or other key factors will not affect your humanity if you get cyberware. Personally, I think that if you're getting something cyberware that will let you regain your mobility or other uh, key factors, I feel like should give you back some humanity to kind of show, hey, I'm doing better instead of no net loss on humanity, because humanity is a hard thing to get back in that game. You got to be really careful with how you get checked. Anyway, yeah, I highly recommend it. It uses a D10 system. Your life path gives you a lot of your important things, but you can also build your edge runner however you choose. Now, I highly recommend taking a look at other media as well. I mean, using Cyberpunk as kind of the base rules. I did this at one point. I brought in a street gang from the Saints Row series. Yep, I brought in the Saints for a street race, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, take inspiration. Um, as I say to anyone asking for advice to run their games, steal shit, write shit down, or steal shit, make shit up, write shit down. You steal ideas, not actual things, but ideas. You make up certain other things to kind of, especially on the fly, you make up the lore or expand on things that you're stealing from to, or why this or that's in this universe type of thing, and you write it all down. That way, it's someplace that you know and can reference, especially during the games. All right, we got the first layer done, and I don't think I'll be able to get the second layer on before the end of the stream. So here we are. So I'm going to do a final showcase before I go of my Tyranids and that Terminator or the Captain in Terminator armor. Starting next week, Tuesdays will instead be Baldur's Gate 3. We're just moving down the line a little bit. I'll try and do more paint and chats in the future when I actually have stuff to talk about. Maybe hints and clues as to what I'm working on. But I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. Here he is, my Terminator, my Captain in Terminator armor, properly shaded. Yes, there we are. There he is. All right, we're gonna move these guys out of the way. Oopsies. Some of them still had wet paint. So, yeah. There we are. A little hard to see, but let's try doing. There we go. Yeah, still not working right. Oh well. Anyway, there he is. Terminator and Captain Armor, or Captain and Terminator Armor. Did that in about actually 2 hours in total from getting the dry brushing or from painting from the base layer on up. Probably took me about another 20 minutes to get the dry brushing and priming done, but you know, who's counting? Yes, that white scar came out nicely. There we go. And of course, my Wing Tyranid Prime, only halfway done, but he is going to work alongside the other Tyranid Prime I have in trying to devour some Marines. And this is the second Von Ryan Lipa unit I own, so when those are done, I'll actually have a little bit of a Tyranid force that can challenge uh, challenge squads. Maybe a combat patrol or two. Anyway, join me tomorrow for Baldur's Gate 3. I will be starting at, usual time, 5 p.m. Join me Thursday for Elden Ring Night Rain. I'm going to be doing, I'm going to do a dry run or two on single player mode. And then, I play on PS5, so if you want to join me for that, please let me know. I'll send you information on all that. We can work as a team to try and take on some of those bosses. Otherwise, thank you again for watching, and may your own adventures be awesome. May you be kind and love one another. May you share so that your cup may overflow. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful night.